Hi everybody, we are here today live again with the Empress interview series, episode number 5. We have Pepa Paiva here today on the interview. She is a screenwriter and a creative coach, and we'll be talking about writing your story from a higher perspective. So, a little bit about me. I'm an empowerment coach. I help women to step into their power, to raise their confidence, to overcome their imposter syndrome, and so much more, and build their online businesses if they are wishing to. And we have Pepa Paiva here. And Pepa, I would like to invite you to tell us a little bit more about your story and what you do and what are you all about.
Well, first of all, hello everybody. Thank you, Hejdi, for having me here. And yeah, well, a little bit about me. As you said, I'm a screenwriter. I write since very, very young. When I was 10 years old, I started writing. And about 5 years ago, I decided to get like professional and dedicate my life to write stories and inspire the world with the stories. It's something that fascinates me since very, very young. And I'm a creative coach as well. I have that background of acting and well, creative writing. Now, lately, writing some scripts for movies. So I'm in different shapes of writing my first novel as well. I'm super excited for that. I hope this year to have it. And yeah, I keep company people who wants to write their first book as a coach. So I work pretty much in mindset and help you to shape your idea and put it in the paper. And and also I'm energy reader, so I work quite often with the energy that is behind your message. So this is all what I do. But everything is connected with the story. This is my mission to inspire with the stories, to create new stories in fiction when I do script writing, and also to help others to see themselves within their own story as a character. This is
Yeah,
pretty much what we're gonna talk about.
yeah. We jumped for everyone, for the audience to know. So I jumped on a call with Pepa a good week ago about writing my book because I am guided to write a book for a very long time and I'm just postponing it like too much. So I found Pepa, or she found me, I don't really remember, but we jumped on a call and we were talking about how could I write a book that would be in alignment to what I want to bring to people. And she helped me recognize a few things that I wasn't attentive about before. Like, I was worried, for example, of the parts of my story, how I could incorporate that to the book and still be able to transfer the message. And she gave me a few good advices on what I should focus on. So, like you gave me the one important message that no matter the story, um, that I need to share all parts of it for what I'm maybe not 100% ready for now, but I'm sure they will channel in the right sequence, like from a higher perspective. And I also expect higher perspective to really influence the book. and not only the book, even Facebook posts, even blogs, articles, and also interviews on podcast and so on. So I already know that this is channeling, you know. It's just it's a funny thing to somehow transfer that into physical form in a form of written word, right? It, it's kind of and that's what I want to ask you. How could a person um, so channel that from a higher perspective, and also what are we talking about here when we say higher perspective? Is that God? Is that higher self? Or what is higher perspective? Let's clear up that first.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, for me, when I create this like a sort of concept to see your story from a higher perspective, it's exactly um yeah, it can be like something connected with a higher self.
Mm-hmm.
But also we in a daily life we are so busy that our life just pass right. And if it's something hard sometimes can happen to you
Mm-hmm.
that we like start analyzing about your life, right? I was listening an actor, Ethan Hawke, last week. I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah.
And he said people start thinking about poetry when someone in their family dies
Mm-hmm.
or you have an accident, you know? So it's the same with your story. Like we are not aware pretty much about our hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are living all the time our daily life, busy and living, but to observe yourself within your story and contemplate all the episodes of things that have happened in your life, it
Mm-hmm.
makes you create a new perspective, like from another level. You are
Mm-hmm.
not like an extra. You become a protagonist when you start like taking action. For example, you are in a coaching, uh, yeah, a coach
Yep.
field, right? Um, taking action, making decisions, playing the role as a protagonist in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So to see it from a higher perspective is to be able to see the big picture of your story with the good, with the bad, with the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a process, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey of writing. When you write your biography in a book, for example, um, you get immersed in a subconscious journey because writing has a lot of that. As much as you connect with your inner self when you are writing, your subconscious starts talking to you. It's like dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
That's why many times, and even with my own writing, sometimes I think we mentioned that in the call that we had. Sometimes it's like, wow, I'm bringing information that is like, it wasn't in my conscious record. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you start creating something, just writing and making your imagination flow, you get impressed how much uh, fiction you can create. So like like within a dream, and that
Mm-hmm.
is all in your subconscious mind. And
Mm-hmm.
it can be with Akashic records or something like connected with the spirituality. But anyway, there is a lot of um, subtle information within their story that is it comes from a higher self,
Mm-hmm.
of course.
So
Like
do
mm,
you reckon that this higher information um, presents itself when you are writing, or does it come before before you start writing, because um, like when you want to start a book or whatever written word, you need to have intention what you're going to write.
Mm.
And how does this transfer? Does it come before, or can you allow it to flow during the writing and add to your intention? And how do you then edit that or remove the extra? How do you know what's extra and what's not? Do you need professional help, or how do you do that? You know?
Well, yeah, I get you. Well, from my experience and from the stories that I have here and the people that I'm working with, um, it's like any process that you get immersed when you start writing. Is you feel like a sort of call. It's the same as you were
Yeah,
saying, like you're writing so like Facebook posts that are getting so long and maybe too big that
sure.
is like a sort of you feel pulled to go beyond.
Yeah,
With writing happen the same, and usually I have seen, and it happened to me as well. I dream sometimes,
hmm,
like literally when I'm dreaming, and I wake up and say I have to write it. I get the message. Or some people they get connected too many times, like more frequent, uh, different signs that they start feeling like I need to share this message. You know, it's about it's a very it's not very big ni complex thing. We usually I do believe that we usually know more or less what is one we want to share or we need to share.
yeah,
It's very often that we know. Now the work is like how to shape it, right?
yeah,
How to make it happen. What is gonna be the structure? Um, and the important thing as well is to identify the mission of that. Why are you doing that, right?
hmm,
I'm sure I want to share something specific with the world, but why? Why I'm sharing it? And that is gonna be like the north of your right. But usually answering your question, yes, I feel that is is very common to have like a sort of sign that is calling you
hmm, hmm,
inside.
yeah, yeah. You also mentioned those concepts in the workbook. So, for the audience, you have a really, really amazing workbook that Pepa created, and I'm gonna show it to you real quickly to just to give you some awareness of it, and just so you see how amazing it is.
Thank
So
you.
just really, I was amazed. I gave you the frame, and you just created the whole art out of it. So I was really, really happy about it. Really, thank you. Yeah,
My pleasure to
yeah,
share with
yeah.
everyone.
So, whoever is listening to this, you have the workbook down below in the comments or in the description. So, let me just quickly show it to you. So, here is the workbook, and let me just check real quick. Yeah. So, here is the workbook. You have Pepa here and me, some introduction, and there is the content of the workbook. So it's very interactive. You would write down what's your story, what's your mission that Pepa just mentioned, and to go into your story as a hero, as a protagonist. And then the concept of fiction versus reality that also Pepa mentioned here. And I have a few questions for you, Pepa, on those
Yeah.
the second and the third chapter. We'll get into it soon. And how you're rewriting your story, how you're creating a new frame in your story. So you have a little bit about Pepa and a little bit about me, and then you get into the workbook. So um, I would really suggest you to read through all of this. There is a lot of text and a lot of instructions how you can create your written art as well, and how to do it from a higher perspective. So you have some questions that you would answer and form your story and be there as a protagonist inside of it, and set your goals. And then there you have some information about Pepa, where you can find her, where you can work with her. She will present a little bit about her masterclass at the end of this interview, so stay tuned. And you can also access it through clicking those buttons below inside of the workbook. So Pepa, I have a question for you in regards to a hero and a protagonist. Let me just quickly jump back to our faces. So, yeah, can you define for me uh, who or what is actually a protagonist? What does the word mean? It seems like it's more of a written word, author's a word. So, what does protagonist mean? And what's the difference with the hero? Is there any?
Hmm. Well, it's well known the hero's journey, right? From Joseph Campbell. He was the creator of the concept of the hero journey or heroine. Well,
Mm-hmm.
for us.
Yeah.
Um, so it is a journey. It it has highlights of different like core points
Mm-hmm.
in your journey, in your life story. That the the ideal scenario is we go through the whole journey, overcome, cross the hill, uh, cross everything,
Mm-hmm.
and become finally a hero, right? So the protagonist in terms of screenwriting, for it needs to play that role of protagonism because we have to see him or see her through the movie to overcome all the obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't happen, because it can happen, it cannot. What I mean with this, if something happened in your life, anything, yeah, but let's say like hard things, usually, those things that make you transform yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Every, everything that happened, the hero's journey explained that is a sort of call of transformation. When we are writing speeches, same thing. And if we compare with life story, it's the same thing. Everything that happened in our lives, it has a meaning. And that's why I always start talking about your story, your mission, because usually the mission on earth is very connected with what happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for instance, you are doing like you became empowerment coach, right?
Yeah.
Because there were different things that mark your life that make you like, you know,
Yeah.
to dedicate your life and become fascinated with that because
Yeah.
you sort of got a lesson from that.
Yeah.
So the hero's journey is the same. You become your protagonist
Mm-hmm.
of your own life, of your story, when you get immersed in this hero's journey, which means overcome. There is three main things. The hero's journey is like about 7 steps to close the cycle. But the main things are everything is flat. You're living your life, normal life, and the heroes or the protagonist in this case, something happened to him, and he has the option to face it and to overcome or stay in the same position. And
Yeah.
then something else is gonna happen to him, and then something else is happening. It's like a movie. You
Yeah.
know, you always see things and actions and things that happen, and he start like taking action. And sometimes he needs a mentor or a sort of like a coach as well, the heroes in the movie that help him to, you know,
To push.
with tools or yeah, and he needs to fight with antagonists that there is another character that is opposite what he's trying to achieve. You know, it's the same like with that. So this is pretty much, but the key in the hero's journey is to get the point of in like relevant internal change. And
Yeah.
that's what is one of the reasons why there are movies that are better or more attractive than others. When the protagonist has internal relevant change
Yeah.
is the key to have a good character.
Yeah.
Same thing with the life,
Yeah.
with life story. It's like to embody that transformation is
Yeah.
what makes you like step uh, yeah, go forward, you know,
Yeah.
step in the next level of your life, of your story, of your movie,
Yeah.
your novel.
Yeah. Experiencing the change. And also, this is the perfect place to mention something. It's when we do confront and when we do choose to face the thing that has happened, that is actually helping us to transform and to implement a change into our lives. These are the parts of the hero's journey, right? And if we
Hmm.
do that successfully, then we can incorporate that into this message that we are trying to convey through doing our mission work, right?
Hmm.
And just yesterday, um, I have this um, so passion planner like this. This is a passion
Nice.
planner. You can print it out. It's in work. It's from Angela Trinidad, and she created. It's very very nice. I love it, and I use it usually like for years now. And they have this. Let me just show you. Like this, you have a weekly outline and
Mhm.
the space for infinite possibilities, and here are your personal and work tasks that you can put in. But it's very practical, I love it. But here on this side, every week you have one um, quote. And it's so funny because this quote, usually when I notice it, it's directly correlated with what's happening in my life this week. And this week's quote, I want to read it to you, is it's from Sinead Bowell. I'm not sure how this is read, but Sinead. And he said, identity is fluid, which means we grow and we change. That growth and change are what crafts our unique stories, and those stories are our superpowers. And this is directly correlated to a hero's journey. Hero
Yeah.
goes from not having the power to overcome something to facing the thing and then becoming a hero and regaining his powers. And actually those powers that he overcome become his or hers superpower that is then that he or she is then able to translate to other people how they can gain them too, right? Because
Yeah.
hero always has a superpower, and the stories, our stories, are our superpowers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Totally agree with that. And also, the superpower are your gifts, right? Connected with the mission that we were talking about.
yeah,
You know, it's like the tools are your gifts that you got from something that happened to you.
yeah,
Is every day there are things, you know,
yeah,
um, or when you in your childhood, many people are living their mission regarding what happened to them in their childhood. I'm one of those
yeah,
people. I'm
yeah, me
writing
too.
because I start writing because something that happened in my childhood. I suffered with something like very not nice. Um, and I started writing because I was repressing so much emotion. And I didn't realize even that I was writing sort of poetry because I was very young. And then I felt like a cozy space when I was writing. And then everything came to me related to that. And I'm here, I'm 29, and
Yeah,
it's all thanks to that episode that was very uncomfortable when I was a child that drove me to writing. And now, it's like, and there's the cycle. But I had to cross the whole, healing journey.
mm-hmm.
And like all of us, fighting sometimes with life, getting angry, and then rebirth, and then die again, and then rebirth again,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, and finally, like living that transformation that takes you to live your purpose that is
yeah,
connected with that,
yeah,
like 20, 25 years ago.
yeah, yeah. Do you think that a writer's block that can happen um, has something to do with us um, not being willing to recognize the lesson that was inputted there?
Yeah, that's very interesting topic. Actually, the writers' blockages are very common topic among writers.
Yeah.
Like in creative circles and stuff. I do believe that, like different things, the mind is also a big enemy on the way sometimes. But you're right. It's very related also with that resistance.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same that you asked me at the beginning, like sometimes how to start writing. There is a lot of fear because writing is a mirror. It shows you a lot
Yeah.
without even knowing sometimes, or without wanting. So the mind is tricky there because it gets on the way because you are sort of in resistance. So the mind steps in the middle so you can get the point where you need to be to start seeing the revelation that writing is going to show because
Yeah.
it reveals things
Yeah.
many times, even more if you are more connected with yourself, if you do meditation before you write, if you are like listening by like some beats, meditation music, or sometimes I listen like Indian flute
Mm-hmm.
when I want to get to a nice mood and deep connection, where I have to write like a scene that needs a lot of you know action and dialogues and stuff. Um, and you get the point that is very interesting. So it might be scary. So the mind
Mm-hmm.
protects you.
Yeah.
So it's a big look.
Yeah.
Fear to the blank page. I have talked with so many people. How can I break that fear to a blank page? And it's like, open your heart. It's just that,
Mm-hmm.
because right is waiting for you know. And yourself is waiting for you to read something um a little bit beyond that your mind. And
Yeah.
nobody's gonna read it, maybe never. But we
Yeah.
we are facing, like, if we were talking with someone. That is the role of writing in my case. Sometimes I feel like that I'm talking to myself, but it's so intimate.
Yeah.
It's super intimate.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so
That
how
is
do you
very
then
interesting.
share that if it's so intimate? When something is intimate, it opens the path to harm you. You expose yourself
Yeah.
to be vulnerable. I never know how to pronounce that word in English, but it's uh, it's such a, it's, I can find the words, but it's such an
You
exposure
get
to
you can make it.
anything. Yeah. So
Yeah, you get naked.
you get
It's
naked.
literal.
Yeah. That would be the right that would be the right expression. So how do you over when you, let's say, you write your story, you write your book, you did the steps where you exposed yourself, where you were um, present, and you confronted the situation, and you write it down, and it channels from a higher perspective, and then you have that book or Facebook post or blog post in front of you, and you need to click publish, and you have that fear of being harmed if you expose yourself. What
Mm,
do you do in that situation? How do you convince your um, ego part of your mind
mm.
to overcome that?
Yeah. Well, actually, one of the to complement a little bit the question before, that you was saying about the higher perspective, right? Um, Usually, I believe that when you get to that point of vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
with that intimacy, there is the higher perspective, because there is your heart open,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's
Yeah.
just what remains is love. As you said, the ego doesn't exist, or if it exists, it's a low level ego when you are in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
there is a key. It's a key. When we open up and we face that intimacy, we are totally naked. It, just what is left, or what is remaining yourself, is just pure love, like innocence, like pure heart, open, and saying, I'm feeling this, all of this, you
Yeah.
know? And that's it. This is a higher connection. You are straight away connected with the divine, the divinity
Yeah.
that is inside of you, talking through your paper, through your pen.
Yeah.
And then when I need to share some intimacy, I edit. I don't share everything, because I have learned through all these years of writing that there is a part of this journey that is very healing and is constantly healing, until we're gonna die. We're gonna
Yeah.
heal forever.
Yeah.
Because every time it comes something different to your life. Now I'm not a mom, but maybe in 2 years more I'm gonna become a mom and I'm gonna have another issue that I need to heal, right?
Yeah.
Um, every time is less, of course, because we are in evolution.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, I have learned how to turn up the volume to what I want to share, and what I want to turn down the volume and keep it for myself. Because there is in you know there is a part of me that just needs to heal, but not necessarily to share. And that's the same thing that I try to uh, not teach, but that I try to share with people who are writing their books, and I'm getting involved in the process. It's like you don't have to share everything, you know.
Yeah.
Writing is rewriting. Many writers and famous writers, even Quentin Tarantino said, writing is rewriting. Is super. It never happened. Almost never happened that you publish your first draft. Always you want to have like 10 versions, 11, 12, 15 versions. There
Yeah.
are scripts that have been written 50 times. Every time you are editing, editing, editing. So, in the same way, if you want to write your book, you don't have to share everything. But at the beginning, it's good. How we were talking the last meeting, you remember, Hejdi? It's
Yeah.
like you just put everything.
Yeah.
Don't have a roof, don't have limits, because there is a space you need to cross and to see your picture from a healing place, from a like pure and very like objective mind. What happened? What is the fiction that is part of my story? What is the fiction that my mind has created? What is my self narrative? All those elements are the first stage of the process. And then you can rewrite and start saying, okay, this is too intimate. I'm going to keep it for me. I'm going to burn it. I
Yeah.
have burned so many things that I have written. And then I
Mhm.
keep the rest and I say, I feel comfortable with this. I feel confidence to share this. And
Yeah.
sometimes I share a little bit more if I feel
Mhm.
like to do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a sort of dancing with the process.
Yeah. But you see, where I have so many stories
Mhm.
that are some of them really hard to believe that it happened in that sequence, or that like it's so much that when I even talk about it, I can talk about it hours. If I wrote down everything, I would be just reading and rereading everything for my whole life. I could do that my whole life, because it's so much, and so many messages and information were channeled in separate parts of the process. How do I choose, for example, how does a person choose which stories are in line with your mission and your message that you want to convey?
Hmm.
You just do it intuitively, or you write it down and then reread it and see if it fits into your hero's journey? How would the
Hmm.
person optimize the process?
I always recommend something that I use from anthroposophy. Anthroposophy. I don't know if I'm saying the right way in English. But it's a kind of philosophy
Uh-huh.
that recommends you again to be able to see the big picture, to put the highlights, like make a timeline and write or draw or mark in a paper what are the highlights in your story. We all have, and not many highlights, you know. things that are coming to your mind. For instance, I'm gonna use my story because I have told my story so many times that I I I I had my ex-boyfriend. He got cancer. That is one of my highlights because that situation, it creates a big transformation in my life. I'm not the same woman born after that happened. You know,
Yeah.
the thing that happened in my childhood. That was my first like big episode that changed my childhood. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I had a car accident. That was second. Then was something when I left my home, changed my life. You know, usually like things that change had changed your life without wanting or no, volunteer or no, you
Yeah.
know, that just happen. Those are like good things to mark in your timeline, and then to observe what or which one are connected with the message to you that you want to deliver. If you don't know what is the message that you want to deliver, I would highly recommend you to start like, you know, write, writing, identify, but writing story. What happened? Exactly what happened. All the details. And in some point, you're gonna start like getting a feeling of, okay, you know, uh, there are some things that are like repetitive in our story. Usually,
Yeah.
there are so many synchronies in our life.
Yeah.
There are a lot of synchronies. And those synchronies that you start identifying while you are writing, those are becoming probably, or those are taking you to identify your mission.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you know, it's like narrowing this is the journey.
Mm-hmm.
You start like wide, big, and then you start like editing
Yeah.
the process.
Yeah.
Faster.
Yeah. I love that. That sounds like a plan, you know. It's not just writing everything down. And you mentioned those episodes inside of the workbook. Um, I just want to jump quickly to show the people where this
Sure.
is mentioned inside of the workbook. So this is, if I remember correctly, mhm, you have the episodes here. So people would use those 4 frames to pinpoint the episodes of life, or they can also probably create more of the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So could those episodes also be chapters in the book, for example?
Yes. Yeah.
Or would,
Why?
yeah? Hmm.
Yeah. Of course. Actually, I put four because, as I said, it's like to have try to stick in the big picture. Don't get lost. You
Hmm.
know.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And we start like, oh, this happens because there are million of things that have happened already in our life. You know?
Yeah,
But identify the core. What was like extremely life changing for you?
yeah,
It shouldn't be more than five.
yeah. Are the episodes also mentioned prior in the questions in the workbook? Do you identify them anywhere before in the process, or you come to them when you answer those questions that are presented before?
The question, I want to question. The questions that are above, you mean?
You see, in the workbook, you can also see probably on the Facebook Live if you want to see where I'm scrolling.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be the easiest. So you see here, here we
Oh
have
yeah.
here we have questions. So when it is time to talk about your story, what's your first thought? What do you feel is the role you play in your own story? And what are the episodes? Here are the answers. What are the episodes you would like to mind shift? Describe them in details.
Mm-hmm.
And then a person would um, go deeper into them here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What I meant with this is more or less like to help you to have a first approach with writing your story, because as we said, it's very intimate process. It's not easy to just start writing. It took me like probably 3 months to finish writing a hard episode 3,
One
because every
episode.
time in one episode
Mm-hmm.
that was pain, it takes time, because every time you are, have you noticed when you watch a movie and then you watch again and you watch again, um, you find different details every time?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The same.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finished writing that the thing that happened to me, I say yes. Now I'm sort of like okay with my writing. I put down everything. I felt everything. There is nothing else that I need to add. It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I thought. Like when I put these questions, for example, when it's time to talk about your story, what is your first thought? That
Mm-hmm.
question, it, it it makes you like tap in an emotion that is important to be aware. What is the emotion that brings your story,
Yeah,
or what do you feel when you talk about your story? Is key, because from that place is how you perceive your story, which is not necessarily something that can cannot change,
yeah,
especially to heal. If you are in a healing process, we all can change that emotion. So create that awareness. What I feel, you know, I feel that it's painful. I feel that I don't have anything to say about it, nothing positive, or I feel that my life has been like hard, but very transformative. I love it. I'm in love with my life way. There are different perspectives that are very yours, are very unique.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that question is to help you to stay in that place and observe.
yeah,
And from there you can start working forward.
yeah, 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 yeah. I understand. Okay.
Also, what do you feel? What is your role in your own story? Is related with that protagonist that we were saying at the beginning, but also um, the fact that I ask you, what do you feel? What is your role? Here it comes the fiction that creates your imagination and the reality
Yeah,
versus the reality, because our mind has a lot of construction that you as a coach also about this, right? We have to
yeah.
break down the mental construction when when we bring emotions, I mean memory,
Mm-hmm.
because memory and imagination are narrative resource, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we write, that is the source where we can get information, content we build.
Yeah,
So when our mind brings a memory, that memory comes with an emotion,
yeah,
and that emotion usually is stick in the past. Is the same emotion that I felt in that time. So the way how to see this from a higher perspective and to be able to mind shift it
Yeah.
is to understand that the emotion is movement, like is energy and movement, right?
Yeah.
Emotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we can change that emotion.
Yeah.
So we can rewrite what happened, like a sort of scene
Yeah.
or chapter or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can like create another emotion regarding of what we are right now. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the ways to reframe everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to command your mind
Yeah.
and do the inner work to tap into a new emotion.
So this must be connected with the vulnerability, right? Like being
Yeah.
vulnerable, it's not just exposing yourself to danger or harm. It's kind of this new emotion that you're talking about of love and acceptance of what happened, right?
Mm. Yes. And also I mentioned in the workbook, one of the keys for me and
Mm-hmm.
as a key from meditation as well is we work on forgiveness and let go. It's
Mm-hmm.
easier. It is easier to tap in an emotion, right? And
Yes.
to change the perception. And there you place yourself in a higher level of perspective
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you are seeing yourself within your story from a compassion, from a place of compassion. And you
Yes.
see the other characters that are involved in your story, then it's another question related to that as well in work to describe the other characters that are involved, that are usually involved in something that happens.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, absolutely. Because other characters, before you refer to them like a counter character or something like that, like there is the hero and there is the villain, you know.
Yes,
And some characters in our stories represent the villain before we heal, before we get to that space of vulnerability. And when we do that, when we go through that, um, then we enter the space of compassion towards ourselves, towards the situation, and also consequently towards the villains in our story, right? With
yes,
for and so with forgiveness with to ourselves and to the situation, we also forgive the villains, and
exactly.
it seems like we are um, this is the key element to actually being able to write down your story from a higher perspective, to forgive the villain as well.
Yes,
Otherwise, you're just writing at least partially from ego,
hmm.
right?
Yes, of course. And the fact to write all and describe all the characters that they are in your story. I don't know if you have heard about writers when they say, "Oh, it's like I'm in love with my characters," even though they are the bad ones, the bad, the bad people in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's because when you create a character, you you describe them from the psychology, physically, spiritually, um, what are their behaviors, what they like, what are their trauma,
Yeah.
everything. So you start like getting used to your character and falling in love with each of them
Mm-hmm.
because there is another story, another world inside of every character that is part of the main story.
Yeah.
And that is the same that happened here. I'm not saying that we should fall in love with someone that well, did something that it wasn't right to us.
Yeah.
But to make the exercise and describe the scene into the details that you feel comfortable with, because you don't have to go deeper. You have to go until it makes you feel that it's okay, right? That's what I was saying about the turn up the volume and turn down the volume. Is you have the control of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you describe everything and you get to know your character,
Yeah.
you start shifting your perception because it's like you are observing that person. What
Yeah.
happened? What drove him or her to do what he did, for instance? Or, or if it's your mother or your father, whoever is in the story,
Yeah.
every time we get into details of description of the people around us that are involved, it gives us a sense of, an objective picture
Yes.
to get to
Yes.
know.
Yes. Yes. I got you. Yeah. One thing that I wanted to also touch upon, and I think it relates to what you're saying now about fiction and reality. So, what do you mean by those two concepts? When you're writing your story, you are trying to incorporate everything as it really happened. And that's specifically one thing that I was thinking about yesterday. If I'm really sorry that I didn't write down what was happening as it was happening like 5 or 10 years ago, because after so much time we lose data. We don't remember exactly what happened, when it happened, and maybe we forgot some of the key synchronicities, for example, that did happen and would make story more magical. So when you're speaking about fiction and reality, specifically fiction, uh, what are you speaking about when you say fiction?
Yeah, I mean about the construction that the mind creates, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that it is fiction for us and screenwriting. But in terms of your life story, is a self narrative that my mind is telling me for so many years. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, that I'm worth, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm shy. Maybe I'm not shy. Maybe something specific happened to me that made me become shy, but we can separate from that by shaping, by writing exactly what happened, and again, to connect with the emotion that create that shyness in me, and now bring it to the present and reshape it again, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and to convert and to transform that emotion. And maybe in that time when I was 15, and 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 something happened that made me shy.
Yeah.
And at that time, I felt like shame or something embarrassing happened, you know.
Yeah.
But that is past, right? And now, if I write or if I connect with that episode again, maybe my emotion can be still the same, but it's highly probably that it's not. So all this time, my mind has built this, you know, that perception that now you have the power, the gift, because you are a different person now.
Yeah.
After so many years, you have the power to mind shift that emotion. So that is the fiction. It's what my imagination, and also this process. I always recommend this, and it's what I do when I write. Make a research. It helps you a lot to separate what is that I create and what was the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Making a research within your family, within your friends, or asking the people that involve story as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how? Because have you noticed when you talk with someone and they tell you something about yourself, for example, like when you were 5 years old, you said, "Oh, I thought it was different," or "I didn't know about this," you know?
Yeah, 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 of
All
course.
that having external perception, that doesn't mean that it's gonna be the truth, but you can have another source of information that you can bring into your story and reshape again, rewrite.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Of course, if you can create a better story, it's even better. And it doesn't matter if it's a fiction or not, but you are making a command to your mind to believe in a new self narrative and don't stick in the old one, you know?
Mm-hmm. So with a fiction, when you um, change your identity and you change how you view the situation that happened to you, what's your story, um, this fiction then becomes a new reality, right? It's something that you view in a new way, and the fiction that was like that was the fiction for a short period of time, from since you realize that you have a problem with this and you are confronting it and then changing it. When you change it, it becomes the new reality. Would you
Exactly.
agree? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, it doesn't have to be fiction. Maybe it was a fact,
Mm-hmm.
and the memories that you have are actually, it happened like that.
Yeah.
But I will say, like it's 70% of the whole story, the whole situation, that there are things that you can, that, that is a construction.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not totally like exactly how it happened because it was your perception 10 years ago, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. Yes.
It's the same like with trauma in childhood. If we got the trauma because of what happened inside of us, because we didn't have the tools at the time. So maybe now it can happen exactly the same to me, but I'm not gonna feel the same because I have another resources. And it was
Yeah.
a sort of like survival mode when we were a child that
Yes.
create that trauma, what happened inside of us.
Yes.
So it's,
Yes.
different elements that create an story, that create the narrative. That's what is called narrative, because it's something that you can tell. And
Uh-huh.
the same way you tell in this way, you can tell in a totally different way. Same story.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. 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 Well, that's amazing. I think we covered
Exactly.
I think we covered most of it. Do you want to add something to all of this topic of speaking from speaking, writing, and speaking from a higher perspective? Do you want to say something in addition to what was said before?
Not really. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, because reframing is sort of like the last part, and just ending. We were just ending with that topic. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the, the, that the reframe is when you feel the freedom. and it's at the point where the hero's journey or the hero is close to the end of the movie,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it's in relax mode, after reframe, after see everything different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. So how,
Mhm.
if you're writing a book, for example, in proportion to the story, to introduction, and then um, the middle of the story and overcoming the problem, reframing, how big of a portion of this process reframing is it just a few pages, for example? Is it, I don't know, can someone say how long should that be? How important it is to to give the story the ending?
Mm. Yeah. When in this case, when you are writing a book, you are writing already from a place of framing. That's why you are writing the
Uh-huh.
book
Uh-huh.
to share the
Uh-huh.
message.
All right.
You know,
So the
you already learned the lesson.
yes, yes. So you're incorporating the reframing throughout the story.
Yes,
Uh-huh,
since
uh-huh,
the beginning, even
uh-huh.
the pillow, the first pages, when you make like a sort of introduction.
Ah,
Usually, book says this book um, um, is my experience based on this, and it helped me to do this, and my mission now is to share this.
yeah,
And I'm grateful for that happened because now I can see in front of millions of people, hundreds of people sharing my experience.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you
I
are
see.
really the hero,
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. Ah, okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that because I thought that the reframing comes at the end, you know, but it's in fact throughout the story.
Yeah, the reframing is more related with the healing process itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I wanted to mention here because in this case you can see your story from a higher perspective, but like to move forward in life, or if you want to write your book. So it's
Mm-hmm.
all the elements are involved in the process anyway. But the way how you see when you write a book is different than someone who wants to hear and just that. You know what I mean? And to
Yeah,
don't share with anyone, just leave the healing process for itself. Or,
yeah, yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
mm.
Um, can you tell me a little bit about as well about the masterclass that's coming up in April?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. Yes, it's gonna be on 10 of April, and I'm gonna focus more in business and entrepreneurs and creative leaders that they want to either write a book or either to connect deeply with the audience. So I'm gonna talk about some techniques or tools or resources that you can use and train yourself to open up and connect with this vulnerability, but from a place of love, self love, compassion for yourself, with yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
at the same time to be able to connect. Because this is one of the main blockages that we all pretty much have when we want more visibility, right? It's how I'm struggling with that availability because I don't want to show up. So, so that there are different ways to do it and speak from your heart anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to share that the masterclass. If
Mm-hmm.
anyone wants to check me, more than welcome. It's going to be fun
Mm-hmm. How long
and it's
does
free.
the, yeah, it's free. Um, how long does it last, the masterclass? Is this one-time event, or do you have it on a weekend or something like that?
Yeah, it's gonna be. Hmm?
Just to give
This,
the audience a bit of frame, the size of it.
yeah, it's gonna be 1 hour and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be available at workbook as well. I'm gonna post it in my Facebook group that I'm just open up,
Uh-huh.
opening up now. Someone wants to join me. I can start like out
Mm-hmm.
videos and content. Also, some tools for content creation
Mm-hmm.
from always the fundamental for me, the values, my
Mm-hmm.
what I say, the values of my own self are empathy, connection, communication, self-expression.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of the group? I didn't catch it.
Stories make humans.
Stories make humans. Amazing.
Yes, I
Uh,
put the link in the workbook. So
Amazing. We'll also put the link in the comments and in the description of this event, so you will be able to access it fast and find the masterclass. Masterclass will be held inside of the Facebook group, right?
yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And it's pretty new, the Facebook group. So I hope everybody join me and start like connecting with the community that I'm creating, because there is so much to share and to learn about our stories. Especially this time. This is when I starting more active, making this decision and taking action about this
Yes,
community, because we need more compassion at the moment, especially with everything what is happening in the
yes,
world. That we need to understand, and that's part of my mission to um, like raise that awareness that behind all of us there is a story to tell. There is pain, there is happiness, there is everything, but knowing each one's stories, we create more empathy, the world more empathetic. You know?
yes.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like one of the most important topics, I think, in any business or personal development path of any person, individual. So, yeah, owning our stories is actually owning our change, our transformation, and stepping into our power and regaining our superpower, as the quote said before. It's the change of our identity, and um, writing down a story, like you said, it gives you the window to observe it and reframe it in a way that's intended for you to get it fully done, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very true.
yeah. I would
Yeah,
invite everybody who is interested in writing their story to join the masterclass from Pepa coming up on 10th of April, and links will be down below. So, yeah, Pepa, I'm so grateful that we had you here on Empress interview series. And I'm so happy that we talked about this subject. It's important to me, and I'm sure it will be of value to anyone who encounters it. The video will be uploaded to Facebook and also to my YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you so much for being here, Pepa.
thank you, Kate.
Yes.
And thank you all of you that are in this room. And I hope it was helpful and interesting for what we talk. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
happy to have you in more conversation.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So we'll end the interview here. And Pepa, you can stay on the stream so we can chat a little bit more and say our goodbyes. But for audience, thank you for being here, and see you on another Empress interview series. Bye.